Is The Running Man a good remake and a win for Edgar Wright, or should they stop just adapting Stephen King, even though he had an incredibly hell of a year of adaptations this year? Welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we are talking about The Running Man 2025. This film stars Glen Powell and is directed by Edgar Wright, who I'm a huge fan of. I love his filmography, so I was very excited to go watch The Running Man. I'm also a big fan of Glen Powell and other actors in the film, like Josh Brolin, I don't know why I blanked on his name. Colman Domingo, who's fantastic in the movie, and Katy O'Brien, love the cast. Was very excited for the film. And this is one of those few circumstances where disappointing doesn't mean bad. I don't think this is a bad film at all. However, compared to the sky-high expectations I had for the movie, I did leave a little bit underwhelmed. And I'll kind of break that down for you. Let's start with the positives. One, every Edgar Wright movie has this sense of fun action, and this film does that in spades. Baby Driver, I think, did it the most excellently before this in terms of the action being as good as the fun. This movie also kind of follows that. The action sequences are great. You have a great sense of fun. Another thing I love is the Glen Powell character that he plays is so fucking angry in the movie, and the movie has really good social commentary as well. And we finally have a movie that matches the social commentary with a character who's just fucking angry at it and just wants to burn it all to the ground. And that was kind of very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not nice to see, but kind of like a wish fulfillment. There it is. Of just kind of like where you can just in a fantasy world be in that situation and just show frustrations. That was very nice to see, and I think Glen Powell gives a great performance in the movie. Michael Cera is also in the movie, a reunion of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and he does an excellent job. I also think that the second act is actually pretty strong in the movie, which is the majority of the movie. The third act is decent, and I'll kind of use this to kind of go into my negatives here. The first act is kind of rough, and what I mean by that is Edgar Wright films, comparisons to Thief of Joy, but Edgar Wright films typically have this ingenious setup, a genius setup to kind of give you amazing foreshadowing of what's going to happen, but also literally play those events out in a fun, unique way and then take you on the journey. It's almost like when you give a speech and you say, in this speech, I'm going to do this, and then you do it. He kind of has a very interesting, unique way of doing that in his work. And this was a very just kind of quick, bland setup to get you to the point of the movie. It was very kind of soulless. It checks the boxes. It sets up the character's dilemma. It sets up the family trouble that he's having and why he needs to go on the Running Man. But it just kind of was just like, all right, this felt like very box-checky and not very creative or interesting. Now, once the show starts, once the Running Man begins and it goes forward, again, lots of fun to be had here. Very interesting social commentary that it starts to do really well with and then kind of plateaus, which I don't know if that's, just something of a lot of stuff being edited out or just not knowing where exactly to take it, but it just kind of felt like a version of that. I think a big problem the movie suffers from is showing too much in the trailer syndrome. The marketing for this movie gives a lot away. There are a lot of excellent sequences in the movie, within the context of the movie, that just don't hold up as well because I've seen them all. I honestly feel, I don't know this, right? I honestly feel like the Michael Cera sequence that's all over the trailers, we were not supposed to see any of that because the way the film is paced, that is a huge moment in the movie. And in the context of the movie, it is. But again, you've seen it so many times in the marketing, it almost took that away. It took it away from you, and it's not something I'm going to be able to enjoy as much until I have some distance from the film, which is unfortunate. I also think the third act, while it was okay, it stumbled a bit in exactly how it wanted to end. It almost feels like it has multiple endings. And to be fair, by the way, I've never read Stephen King's book, so I don't have a comparison for like how close or how accurate it is to the book. I no clue. So nothing on that front. But as a film, I think it's fun. I think it has great action. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't quite live up to the Edgar Wright standard, and it didn't meet the sky-high expectations I had, but it is in no way a bad film. It does stumble with a few things, like I mentioned, the first act being a little rough, it kind of plateauing on its social commentary, and then having multiple endings that don't really mesh well, and just that unfortunate problem of show too much in the trailer. But I think you can go to the theater and have a really nice time with this. I think there's a lot to be liked. Again, not a bad film at all. it's just probably going to be on the lower end of a lot of Edgar Wright rankings. And again, I know I say it all the time, comparison is the thief of joy, but it's kind of the best way to articulate these things. But what did you think about it? I really want to see your comments in the Running Man down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.